Hi, and welcome to My Wonderful Knitting Life YouTube channel. I'm Margaret, and I am the host of this channel, and this channel is mostly about knitting. You can also find me on Instagram, and the details are below in my show notes. And I am now on Ravelry at, let me think, My Wonder Knit Life. My Wonderful Knitting Life wouldn't fit in the number of characters that you are allowed, so I had to shorten it. But I'll put all of that in the show notes as well. Today you find me on the northeastern shores of Quebec, Canada. I am a teacher in a small mining town. So let's get started. Today I have a few whips to talk about. I have a couple of new cast-ons, and I have some acquisitions that I didn't buy any yarn. It just came to me. So it's still my stash down year. I am trying not to buy anything as much as possible. And I also have the prize winner for the project bag that I mentioned earlier for my potiversary of the channel, which was in January. So this is year 2. So welcome to anybody who is new and anybody who's returning. I'm glad that you are here. So let's get started. So my first whip that I've been working on mostly in January is the Rocket Tee. This is by Tanis Lavallee, and I started the year off very busy at school, so I decided I would go with some easy knitting. So sorry for the clanging. Those are my 𝐊𝐍𝐈𝐓𝐓𝐈𝍍𝐄 needles that are on the project. So where I left off was splitting for the sleeves, and since then, in about 5 days, I knit down the whole body. So that's, directional issues. That's where I am at with that project. I love it. I'm really enjoying the colors that I chose. It's going to be really nice and bright for the spring. And yeah, it's very light and airy. I soaked it just to check out how much it would stretch because I wasn't sure. And I have to say, not a whole lot of stretch. Like, it's really maintained its shape and its size. What I'm going to do next is do the sleeves, and I intend on doing a bit of a short sleeve. And I'm also going to do the finishing of the V-neck. A friend of mine mentioned that that might be a good idea just to see how much it's going to pull up the body, because I am tall and I don't like things to be short. So that'll give me a final idea of the length before I decide to cast off at the bottom. But really loving this project, and it's coming along really well. I forgot to talk about what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the 𝐊𝐍𝐈𝐓𝐓𝐈𝍍𝐄 by Espace Tricot, and I made this in Holst Garn Tides, which is a 70% wool and a 30% silk. I really was not a fan of this when I was knitting it. It's knit double, so 2 strands at once to get a DK weight for the called for gauge for the sweater. And what I found was that it was very ropey and kind of dry and rough feeling with the texture. It was also a lot of plain knitting, which I really got tired of. I really had to push myself to finish this one. But since I have soaked it a couple of times, I have fallen in love with the yarn. It has become much softer, and it is the perfect yarn for a day like today where it's about -5 Celsius outside. It's not overly hot, but it's perfect for, you know, it breathes. I feel like it's like a climate controlled yarn. I wouldn't wear it on a -20 Celsius day. It just wouldn't be warm enough, but it is perfect for a day like today. And this little scarf here, I made out of secondhand silk ties that I picked up at a secondhand store. I have collected them for years, and I talked about this in a previous podcast. I was going to sew the ends together to make a cowl, but I'm kind of doing like the airline stewardess look today, and I like it. So we'll stick with that for now. All right, on to more whips. So it's been a while since I've showed my Botanic Shawl by Stephen West. This project I have had to knit twice. I knit it once and it just got wide really fast and I didn't like it. So I ripped it out with the help of my daughter Amy, and I'm re-knitting it, doing every other increase. So I'm really stretching it out and it's not as wide. So it's more scarf-like. I really need to get a new chair. This one squeaks all the time. So as you can see, I have made a lot of progress because the last time I showed it, I think I was working somewhere in the green section, and I've now gone back to purple. My progress keeper is right there. So the rows are definitely wider now, so it takes a bit longer. But this is fantastic knitting for when you're tired or you want to watch a movie and not be concentrating quite so much. I think I have less than 20 grams of the colored yarn. So I'm definitely getting near the end, and it's certainly, you know, quite long. But I will use all of the colored yarn before I finish off. And I think for my edging, instead of what Stephen West has going on, which is a little bit like a garter type edging, I'm just going to take my cream yarn, which is Holst Garn Super Soft, and I am going to continue with the pattern with these like lattice stripes. I'm just going to keep going, and that'll give a little bit of an edging that will block the same way that the main piece does. I read on Ravelry, a few people said that border kind of stretched out or blocked differently from the rest of the shawl. So I'm going to stay safe on that one. And I really love it, so hopefully I'll finish it soon. The colored yarn is a 𝐊𝐍𝐈𝐓𝐓𝐈𝍍𝐿 ball fingering weight. And I love the slow color change. It's beautiful. All right. So as I mentioned, I have a Ravelry account called mywonderknitlife, and I've used Ravelry for years and years. I get lots of patterns from there. I look at people's notes on their projects, get inspiration, as we all do. But I have finally posted, oh, my phone is ringing. I'll be right back. Whew, it's a good thing I got that call. That was for an appointment, so that was an important one. All right, yes, Ravelry. So I have finally started posting projects, or I should say project. I took the leap at the encouragement of a friend, Sylvia. Thank you, Sylvia. And I went ahead and posted my next project, which is my next whip that I want to talk about, or I should say new cast on. So I fell in love with the Alpine Bloom by Caitlin Hunter the first time I saw it. It is just such a beautiful, beautiful color work, yoked sweater. And I think about maybe no more than 10 days ago, I cast this on. Those of you who follow me on Instagram will have already seen this. So this is the yoke of my Alpine Bloom. I always have directional issues when I'm using the camera that my daughter gave me. Let me see if I can get a better view of that. I want to stretch it out so that you can see the beautiful, beautiful color work. I am so close to finishing. I think I've got 4 more rows to do. There we go. Maybe that's a bit better. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is just amazing. I love it. It is so beautiful and colorful. I'll talk about the yarns that I have used, but let me talk about the neck. So I investigated the lace neck that Caitlin Hunter does on this project on Ravelry, and I looked at a lot of people's pictures. And what I found was that some of the lace, which is a bit of a scalloped edging, it didn't seem to lie flat. And I just wasn't sure about that. So what I did instead, I did a little bit of a modification. I did a 1x1 rib, And I did one row of the pattern. Let me see if I can get that to show. All right, so it looks like a pearl necklace. I've got little holes, there we go. Little holes all the way around between the ribbing and the color work. And you know what? We'll see what I think. If I don't like it, I will do some sweater surgery for that. But this is just giving me a lot, let me see if I can get that there, is giving me a lot of joy, and the colors are fantastic. These are not the colors I originally said I was going to do this project with. These colors come from a cone of Holst, which I did talk about. It is super soft, and it is called Elderberry. And it has got a really nice depth of color. It's got some reds in there, some very dark purple. It's very rich, kind of like a winey purple. So I'm loving that. But here's what I'm using for the color work. I was originally going to use a yarn that, well, I showed it in the last podcast, but I kind of thought the colors might be too close at some point. So this is what I chose to use. This is Patton's Croy, and this is their FX sock yarn. And maybe I will put that in front of my face to get it to focus. This is a very slow color changing yarn. And it also has kind of the look of a hand spun. So that's what I'm using for the color. And as you can see, well, I'm really happy with it, is that it gives this very, very dynamic pop of lighter color and darker color. It just seems to make the flowers and the color work come alive. So I'm really happy with that, and I'm very motivated to keep going. But I do have to say, the color work is pretty intense. I know that Tash from Mostly Knitting made this, and she did a beautiful job. And she said, it's quite a labor of love when you get through to the end here, because it's a real slog. Like, you never get a break with the color work. You are constantly on color work. And you know, there's been nights where I've just been too tired to work on it. The increases are really cool because it's kind of like slices that she puts the pattern in. Oh my goodness, the directional issues are a challenge here. So she's got kind of like slices. Let's see if I can do it this way. Yeah, slices that get wider and wider, and she's got one stitch of the same color all the way down between them. And that's where the increases are put in. And that works really, really well. I also, when I bought this pattern, I bought the Mizurina, the Zweig, and the Tenya, because Caitlin Hunter always has a thing where if you buy 3, she'll give you 1 free. And I've never knit anything of hers until I've done the Alpine Bloom, but I absolutely love her pattern. So I took advantage of that, and I picked up a few. So that's really been a huge focus of my knitting in the last month. This has become my little ball holder. This was in the Goodwill box. I had a problem with it falling on the floor into this little spot where the dog hair and the cat hair seems to like to collect, even though I sweep the floors every day. It's just a pot from an orchid that I had, and it's actually doing the job quite well. And the dog doesn't seem to steal it either when it's in here. So that's another advantage. The other thing I've been working on is a sock. And I haven't had a sock mojo in a long, long time. But I have a colleague at work who's been knitting socks at lunchtime in the staff room. And I just really got the bug to knit a sock. So that's what I'm doing. I bought this yarn at my local yarn store. So it is one of those self-striping. And this is the tag. of that yarn. And it is, I think it's a 75-25. Yes, it is. It's a 75 Superwash, 25 polyamide. And that would be my dog commenting. So I cast this on, and I don't enjoy doing ribbing. So I did a 2x2 rib. And I am doing 56 stitches on 2.25 millimeter needles. And some people would say, well, isn't that going to be too narrow? But I have really, really narrow feet and ankles. So this should work nice and snug. And my test is to put it on my arm. Oh, my dog is being really, really interesting. I don't usually spend the whole day at home, but he wants my attention. So I'm absolutely loving this. I'm knitting on DPNs, which DPNs or magic loop would be my preferred choice, but the small circulars, they just don't work for me. I'm going to stop and tell him to be quiet. All right, hopefully he'll calm down a little bit. Yeah, so I did start this on the small circulars, but I just don't enjoy that at all. I know some people love it, but I find it slows me down. I'm not a fan. So that's a big part of my sock mojo. And the other thing that I've been doing is watching a podcast called A Stitch in Time, and Carol is the host of that channel, and she has been doing for the last few months something called Sock Week. And she has knit over 300 pairs of socks. I imagine she's done a lot more than that. But she's really into very intricate cables and lace, and I have found that so inspiring. So that brings me to another sock item that I have. Oh, yes. Okay. So a few podcasts ago, I mentioned that I had knit some sock tubes with a sock machine that I have in Ottawa using a very, very expensive yarn. This yarn originally was $40-some for a 100-gram skein, and I had picked it up for, I think, maybe $10 on a big sale. So I really wanted to try it out and see when it was on my feet if the money made a difference. So I finished the toe and heel on both of these. They're a little wet because I just washed them last night, and they've been hanging to dry. And here's what I have to say about the price. So I don't think I would buy sock yarn for one pair of socks at the full price of $40. However, I have learned something. This is Superwash Merino with nylon rather than just general Superwash wool. And I have found that the merino, my feet really like it. It seems to breathe a lot more, and my feet don't feel sweaty or notice like the plasticky feeling that some sock yarns will give you. So I'm really happy with these. I'm so happy with these that I've now got the motivation to finish one of the other pairs that I did. So I've got one that needs a heel, and then I'm set to go with this pair. And this is the same yarn. I got 3 skeins of it, and I need to finish that so I can wear them because I really like it. With my sock mojo, there's been so much sock mojo, there is a sock machine at the 𝐊𝐍𝐈𝐓𝐓𝐈𝍍𝐄, which is a weaving organization that I belong to. They have a Chambord sock machine, and that is a really beautiful sock machine that is made here in Quebec. Not many people are using it because they're afraid to use it and break it. They don't know really how to set it up. So I went weaving last weekend, and I decided I'm going to give this a try. It's not the same as mine, but the principles are basically the same. So I did use it, and I managed to make a tube. And this beautiful yarn is made by the same company that this yarn, this guy right here, is made out of. And I had no idea that it was set up with a little white section in the middle to mark the halfway mark. Oh, I think there's a problem with my SD card. Oh dear, this podcast is full of interruptions today, but I'll keep going and then I'll see what I can do in editing. One section is so long that I think, honestly, I'll get a pair of socks out of that section and a pair of socks out of the other one. It's really amazing. So, lots of sock mojo. So, acquisitions. I've got two things to show. The first one is a book that arrived about half an hour before I started the podcast. I really want to make myself some cable socks after seeing Carol do all of hers in a stitch in time. And this was really on sale on Amazon, so I decided to send for it, and it arrived just in time for the weekend. So I'm really happy to be able to spend some time reading that. I know a lot of people have that book. It's been around for a while, and it's got a lot of projects in it that I'll be able to enjoy. The other thing I've picked up is some yarn that's new to me. This yarn, or I should say 3 skeins of yarn, I got as a gift. The teachers that I work with in my cycle at my school, they got me a gift card for Maison Tricot, which is a yarn store in Quebec. And that was back in the fall when my dog died, and that was a really tough time for me. So they got me a gift card, and I finally used it. And I bought these beautiful skeins of yarn from Riverside Studio. This is a dyer in Canada, and they are hand-dyed in Wakefield, Quebec, which is actually pretty close to where I am when I'm in the Ottawa area. This is a Superwash Marino nylon sock yarn, 8-ply, and there's 115 grams on each of these. I love these two together. I don't know if they'll eventually be socks or if they will be a shawl, but I think they're really beautiful. All right. Oh, and I've got some weaving to show you. When I was there at the 𝐊𝐍𝐈𝐓𝐓𝐈𝍍𝐄 a week ago, I picked up some more tea towels that I had made. These are in a really pretty variegated blue. And I did 2 plain weaves. This one shows a little bit less of the color. This one here, I think, shows the colors a little bit more, but it's very much seaside colors. So I look forward to sewing those into tea towels so that they can either be used or gifted. But I don't have a sewing machine in here anymore. I have been moving a lot of my stuff to Ottawa because my plan is to finish teaching here at the end of the year and move to our family cottage. So hopefully all of that will work out. I think I forgot to show my Albertine jacket. Oh my goodness, I'm all over the place today. Yeah, so I felted and cut the steeks on my jacket, and I have been working on finishing up, but I haven't been knitting. I've actually been working on the duplicate stitch for this jacket. There's a lot of decorations that go into this project, and duplicate stitch sequins, beautiful crocheted edges, but I finished doing the duplicate stitch on this motif this past couple of weeks. So I haven't forgotten about it. It's still in the works. All right, the prize winner. So for my anniversary, my 1-year anniversary of doing the podcast, a friend of mine, Tracy, had donated some project bags, and I had shown them all and asked people to make a comment in the last episode if they were interested in winning one of the bags. And I did the random comment generator to pick a comment, and I have a winner. Let me see if I can get my notes here without moving the camera. I'll put it down on the screen as well. It is 𝐊𝐍𝐈𝐓198. And she asked for the bucket bag, and I believe this is the one that she's talking about, which is really beautiful. Super cute. It can kind of sit on your couch or on your floor like a bucket. And it is made by Button Jar. And it's got leather handles. It is, I mean, if it wasn't donated to me, I might be tempted to keep it. It's so cute. So Marjorie, if you can get in touch with me on Instagram and let me know if this is the bag that you wanted and give me your address, I'll be able to mail that to you sometime in the near future. And Marjorie told me something that I never knew. She told me that sewing machines can have a felting attachment. I was blown away by this, and then I had to Google it and take a look. And there's an attachment that you can put on some machines, and it has 3 needles that will just basically do the job that you do by hand when you're felting. So that was news to me. I found that really, really interesting. All right, the very, very last thing I want to talk about is my plans for this little project. I talked about this in a past episode. This is a hand-dyed sock yarn by Holst, and I managed to pick this up in a big sale, and it's got peach and pink and white in it. And I also have 3 different colors of Titicaca from Holst, and this is an alpaca lace weight. So I had thought stripes, I had thought fade. I still kind of like the stripes, I have to say. Stripes are fun. But I have been watching Tash of Mostly Knitting, and she's becoming really popular. So I think you probably have seen her or heard of her. She's got a great YouTube channel. She has made many, many, many versions of the Sorrel sweater pullover, and that is by Wool & Pine, I believe. And it has got these beautiful like braids down the yoke, and she has many times made her sweaters in a fade version. So I'm thinking that's what I might do with this, is make a Sorrel. And it's a very new to me technique. I've never seen those braids on the outside, and then the whole garment is purl, but I think you do it inside out so you're knitting all the time. So that is a future plan that I have. All right, so I think that's about it for today. Hopefully I can edit that up and get it out for you this weekend. And I wish you well and lots of happy knitting. And good, yeah, let me see what I could say about that. So I think that's about it for this podcast. I hope and wish you lots of happy knitting, and I'm really enjoying all of the comments that you add to my channel. If you enjoyed this content today, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.